Hello, everyone, and welcome to In the Trenches, Kroll's weekly cyber threat intelligence briefing. Today is the 14th of April. My name is George Glass. I'm Associate Managing Director in the Cyber Threat Intelligence team. Joining me today from the team is Ryan Hicks, Mukesh Nagar, Dave Truman, and Sarah Carrigan. As always, we'll be covering the most recent trends our cyber threat intelligence team is witnessing in the trenches. And so let's get into the situation report. Fortinet has warned of active exploitation of known vulnerabilities. They have identified a post-exploitation technique that was used by threat actors targeting known but unpatched vulnerabilities in FortiGate devices. Those are FGR IR 22398, FGR IR 23097, and FGR IR 24015. According to Fortinet, the threat actors leveraged symbolic link tricks to maintain read-only access to those FortiGate devices, even after the original access vector was remediated. Those techniques were mostly focused on the SSL VPN language file directory, and they used that for persistent access and evading detection. Fortinet has begun to reach out to affected customers, and we here at Kroll are aware that government bodies such as the NCSC have also begun an outreach campaign as well. That advisory there from Fortinet has some details on additional IPS signatures and mitigations. Very well worth a read. If you have any questions or comments on any of this, please reach out to us using cti@kroll.com or contact your point of contact at Kroll. And with that, let's get into the rest of today's briefing. I will be covering Patch Tuesday for April. Ryan has a really interesting report on our visibility into CLEARFAKE. Dave has a report on healthcare, some sophisticated phishing campaigns targeting that industry, especially here in the UK. And Mukesh has a report on a critical RCU in Ivanti. And last but by certainly no means least, Sarah will be covering this week's ransomware roundup with some really interesting news. So let's get into Patch Tuesday. 134 vulnerabilities fixed. 31 of those are remote code execution vulnerabilities. Of those RCE vulnerabilities, a number relates to the Windows telephony service, Windows routing and remote access service, and SharePoint. So certainly worth reading the report to get additional details on those. There is also a Windows Defender application control security feature bypass vulnerability that was discovered by Microsoft, and that's tracked as CVE 2025-26678. No exploitation in the wild. Microsoft do list this as less likely to be exploited, but certainly one to be aware of, and should be pushing your patching schedule forward. 10-day was exploited, and this is quite an interesting one. So this is CVE 2025-29824 with a CVSS of 7.8. Those lower CVSS scores usually do end up being the worst ones, to be honest. And this is another vulnerability. We've tracked a lot of these covering the common log file system driver elevation of privilege vulnerability. According to Microsoft, it was discovered by the Mystic team and the Microsoft Security Response Center. They discovered post-exploitation activity that used this 0-day in the CLFS system against a small number of targets. The targets include organizations in the information technology, real estate, and real estate sectors of the United States, the financial sector in Venezuela, and a Spanish software company. The vulnerability allows privilege escalation to system, very similar to other CLFS vulnerabilities that we've seen in the past, and it uses a number of Windows APIs to achieve that. Technical details are available in the weekly report. Microsoft is tracking the activity as Storm 2460, noting that Pipe Magic malware was used to deploy the ransomware while leveraging the vulnerability. Indicators shared in the article provided by Microsoft tie the ransomware variants to ransom EXX. Important note here, as of April 10th, 2025, Microsoft states that a fix for the Windows 10 LTSB 2015 is currently not available and will be released in a future update, the date of which is currently unknown. According to Microsoft, Windows 11 version 24H2 is not affected by the observed exploitation, even if the vulnerability was present. So yes, there's a lot to cover in this week's one. Lots more detail is available in the weekly report. And as always, if you have any questions, please do reach out to us at cti@kroll.com. And with that, I will pass over now to Ryan to talk about ClearFake. Over to you, Ryan.
Thanks, George. Hi, everyone. So yeah, we're continuing to see widespread attempted initial access through ClearFake via fake capture pop-ups across a wide range of industry sectors. The graph on the left there shows the sector spread of recent ClearFake cases across Kroll data. So you see quite a few sectors in a short space of time. Education is though at the top. This is just likely because individuals in the sector, so students, teachers, etc., are more likely to be kind of researching and coming across these types of laws that ClearFake appears to be using. So things like PDF guides and documentation. So rather than being targeted to them, it's just sort of a more likely to sort of come across the laws there. And ClearFake continues to show the sort of similar themes that there has been for a while surrounding its use alongside fake capture, typically themed around the sort of verify you're human, blue box, also some various forms of fake error presented, and a few of those are on the right there, which are some recent examples that we saw. There has, however, been an evolution in the variations of delivery that have appeared in the past few months. If we go to the next slide, please. So the graph here on the right shows a set of ClearFake cases that have been detected and mitigated in recent months by the Kroll SOC. The biggest cluster in this dataset really is the use of MSHTA in the command that's copied by the victim, as opposed to just PowerShell, which we saw last year. It's noted that early cases of MSHTA saw the ether hiding technique, whereby the actor stores malicious code in the Binance Smart Chain. And this was first seen in Q3 2024, but we continue to still see this technique till today. And a more recent evolution within the MSHTA is the .mp3 file extension, as well as the use of .shop and .info domains. So we're sort of seeing clusters of activity around those. And the file that's collected from those domains, particularly within MSHTA, is a script that launches PowerShell, and that in turn will download and execute the main payload of the compromise if it gets that far. And the executed payload is quite often an information stealer, often Luma stealer. And the most recent update away from MSHTA use saw a PowerShell command that's copied by the victim, and that's that kind of cluster on the bottom right of the graph. And the PowerShell commands contains what looks to be obfuscated codes to randomly generate the payloads that is to be downloaded, and it uses kind of a variation of the date time that the script was executed to create the name of the payload. Many of these, as you see, are linked together, sharing the same command and control IP address. So certainly kind of a cluster of activity that we've seen around that new technique there. And although there is a rapid evolution of ClearFake delivery to victims, as mentioned, there's also a lot of common themes throughout to assist in detection and hunting. So just listed a few here. There's more in the weekly report, as well as more information on some of those techniques I mentioned before. So looking at MSHTA executing with a remote URL, a very common theme. Suspicious PowerShell or MSHTA in the run MRU registry key, again, a common theme, and that displays the most recently run command from the run box, which is where the victim's copying and running the commands in. And also suspicious PowerShell commands. So there's a few that I've listed in the report, such as invoke expression, some various sort of encoding commands. So looking out for those very much widespread at some point in the attack chain across all of these cases is these kind of PowerShell commands. And also just lastly, as this threat also relies on social engineering, It's also highly recommended to ensure that users are aware of this threat, particularly copying and pasting information into the run box, especially from CAPTCHA pop-ups, as this is the main ongoing law with ClearFake that no doubt we'll continue to see. That's all for me. How about you, George?
Thank you very much, Ryan. Really interesting stuff there. Next, I'll hand over to Dave to talk about a phishing campaign targeting healthcare. Over to you, Dave.
Thank you. Kroll has observed an unknown threat actor targeting the healthcare sector with phishing attempts. The actor uses likely compromised accounts from other healthcare organisations to add an air of legitimacy to their social engineering. So far, these compromised accounts appear to be plastic surgery related organisations sending emails purporting to be work proposals. However, it is possible that other organisations may also be used in lures not seen by Kroll. The emails contain a link with a hostname component resembling a file share link of the source compromised entity, usually the source entity's name appended with terms such as file share online or proposal file share. In emails seen by Kroll, the domain of these links ends in evolutionary.it.com. The domain name evolutionary.it.com is likely chosen to match the healthcare-focused IT service provider Evolutionary IT, which has a domain of evolutionaryit.com. Once clicked, the link redirects the user to a credential harvesting page, and as part of that phishing page chain, a suspicious SBS domain is also hit. Each lure is sent to multiple users, and Kroll has observed different lures sent to different organizations. Each lure contains a different SBS domain. Web requests to the SBS domain return a failed Cloudflare turnstile error and no meaningful data. The purpose of these domains is unknown, but it is possible that they are used for campaign tracking. Based on external DNS data of these SBS domain, Kroll CTI can estimate values for certain activity cluster related statistics. These should be considered minimum values since available DNS data is a subset of all DNS data. The number of unique lures used, 334. The total victim clicks across all lures, 4,737. The highest victim click rate per unique lure, 61, and the average victim click rate per lure of 14.2. It is recommended that all healthcare organizations educate their users to this phishing campaign, particularly regarding plastic surgery work proposals. It is also recommended to monitor links containing evolutionary.it.com's domain. Thank you. George?
Thank you very much, Dave. Again, a really interesting campaign that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. And now I shall hand over to Mukesh to talk about something I hope doesn't turn into a campaign. Over to you, Mukesh.
Thanks, George, and hello, everyone. So Ivanti has issued a security update addressing a vulnerability affecting several of its secure access solutions. These include Ivanti Connect Secure, versions less than or equal to 22.7 R2.5, Pulse Connect Secure, which is version 9.1x. However, this is end of support. Policy Secure and Neuron for ZTA gateways. The vulnerability is being tracked at CVE 2025-22457 with a CVSS score of 9.8 critical. The vulnerability has been exploited in a limited number of cases, primarily involving older or unsupported versions of hardware and devices. Ivanti mentions that the Pulse Connect Secure of 9.1x, which has reached end of support back in December 31st, 2024, is no longer receiving patches and urges users that are using Pulse Connect Secure 9.1x to retire or migrate these devices as it's no longer receiving security updates. Ivanti also recommends to upgrade all Ivanti Connect Secure 22.7 R2.6 immediately. That's everything from me, George. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Mukesh. And now we go to the ransomware roundup with Sarah. Over to you.
Thanks, George. We have 2 updates for this roundup this week. First is about Everest ransomware and their data leak site being defaced. So the original contents that are usually on the Everest ransomware shaming site, such as victim organization postings, have now been replaced with the messaging, "Don't do crime, crime is bad, XOXO from Prague." It's unknown who the threat actor is at this time who did this defacing to the ransomware group's site. It's also kind of unknown right now how the threat actor gained access into the ransomware group's site. There's researchers who are speculating that it could be due to a WordPress vulnerability, just because Everest does use a WordPress template for their blog portion of their data lake site. But again, this isn't confirmed. So that's a quick update on Everest. And then our next story is about Hellcat ransomware. They listed 4 new victim organizations, and they claim to have stolen internal files, financial records, and emails from these victim organizations. The researchers identified that the root cause of these attacks was by identifying that Jira credentials were stolen by various InfoStealer malware variants. And the variants are listed that were used, such as Raccoon, Redline, Luma Stealer, SteelC. So they kind of figured out that once the threat actors got these credentials, they then logged into all of the Jira environments and kind of moved around in that system and gained access and stole sensitive data. And then on the 5th of April, Hellcat did post proof of the attacks to their data leak site, along with countdowns to just emphasize, the urgency of the threat and of the data being leaked if the companies did not, meet their demands. That's all for me, George.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And thank you also to Ryan, Mukesh, and Dave for also presenting this week. That's all we have time for. But remember, if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to reach out to us using cti@kroll.com. Next week is a bank holiday here in the UK, and I believe the US as well. So we will be presenting to you next Tuesday. Thanks.